All right, bro. Well,
so what's up, dude?
If you guys didn't know, this is our first time with this. It's very weird because we're not really talking to anybody. We're just talking to cameras. But you guys will eventually hear this. But no, man, we've been talking about doing this for a while. We've been wanting to get a podcast going. Obviously, we are two business owners that are running our own businesses, and that is our primary focus every day is running our business. But we definitely are excited to get this started. I mean, it's kind of something that we've really been thinking about how to do it for probably close to 2 years now, and I think we finally just were like, fuck it.
And we kind of figured a good one to start out with was how our businesses got going, and what kind of led us to where we are today. I figured those would be cool stories.
I want to hear about yours because yours is, starting while active duty, which is very, very rare because not very many people, have enough energy or focus, especially in the special operations community, to have something else. So what made you, how did it all start while you were in?
Well, I would say I'm definitely fucking crazy because that shit was not, it definitely was not something I recommend somebody do. There was obviously a lot of benefits to it, but essentially it all kind of started off when I was in the Q course and I was in SUT, and all these guys that were ahead of me, they were like, hey, this is the packing list, this is what you need sewn up, and the guys were saying that they were spending like $400 or something at the sew shop. You had to get like your name tape sewn on, the VS17 panels and all your hats, the ruck modifications and stuff. And I've always kind of had that entrepreneur itch and, had landscaping businesses when I was a kid and whatnot. So I was like, hey, you know what I could do? I could just buy a sewing machine and sew my buddy's packing list and then sew my own and kind of see what I was kind of like, hey, I just save some money and help out the boys. That's kind of the plan. So I ended up buying a sewing machine, and I don't know if you guys know, but there is no tactical sewing videos on YouTube. So I literally watched YouTube videos in my barracks room on how to sew like a dress, how to like sew like hem jeans and
But there's nothing out there that is like, hey, this is how you sew one of these belts.
Not at all.
This is the machine you should get. This is the type of needle and yarn, and then here's the step-by-step process of how you do it. There was none of that?
Not at all. And so it started off, and so I started sewing. I learned, stumbled through. My first work was definitely, it worked. It got the job done, for SUT.
Yeah, where did you build the first belt at? Like where?
The first belt. So SUT was completed. Sewing machine got put on the shelf. Didn't touch it.
SUT is small unit tactics.
Small unit tactics.
So you're ex special forces. You're in the Q course, which is what, the qualification course.
Yep.
So you're in the weeds of this, chasing this Green Beret, trying to get it.
Yep.
But yeah, here you are, like seeing that there's an opportunity to bring something that you're very passionate about, which is a belt, or gear at this point. It's really like gear. And you're like, hey, I'm going to make one.
Yeah. Well, so
it's wild.
So that's the next part is we got to the Bravo course, and it was before we did any of the flat range stuff. So guys were all talking about like a gun belt, and I've never had one. I did some shooting prior to the Army, but it never was like that serious.
Yeah.
I never had a 2-piece belt or anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys were talking about the Ronin because that was like the hot.
Yeah, that was the hot thing.
And guys were like, "Oh, dude, you should buy that, whatnot." So it was funny. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was literally, I just moved out of the barracks because I just got married. I'm sitting in my house in Fayetteville. I have zero furniture. So we had like this big tub, and I'm sitting in there with my laptop because I had nowhere else to sit. Literally zero furniture in the house. And I had a Ronin belt in my cart, and I was about to enter my credit card information. So I'm sitting there. I literally had my credit card in my hand, the laptop, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I think I could build one of these, you know? And so I exit out of fucking Ronan's website, and I went to Amazon and ordered some material that I thought might work, and got the stuff in a couple weeks later.
Like,
and then,
what did you like? What did you research? You know what I mean? Like, what? Nobody even knows like what.
I don't even really know what I started. The materials I used were pretty bad for that first one, especially compared to what I'm doing now. But I don't know. It was like I needed 2-inch webbing. I know it was called webbing. And then I just went off the sizes. And I was like, I need 1/2-inch webbing and I need 2-inch webbing. And then I got the webbing in. I didn't have a buckle. Yeah. So I cut the buckle off. You know, if like the standard issued belt you get for like just your regular OCPs and your uniform, like you just weave it through. I literally cut the buckle off that and then put that on my first gun belt, like 2-piece belt. And that's what I ran for the Bravo course. And it didn't look good.
So you're running a custom makeshift belt? Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it worked for the entire time.
The cadre, like...
And then eventually I was like, you know what? I should put like a cool buckle on there. So I bought a Cobra buckle, and I think I spent way too much money. Because if you buy just one on Amazon, they're like super expensive. I bought one, and then I cut the old buckle off that and put the new one. And then now it was cool. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
So really you were... When you started making belts, it wasn't really a business. Like, you weren't focused business driven. You were just focused like, hey, I don't want to spend $400 on a belt, and I know that I have the capability to make my own, and I'm going to do it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So it wasn't for a little bit until I was like, hey, you know, maybe I can build a better one, you know, because at that time I was starting to take it pretty serious and shoot a lot at the range. So I was using it all the time, and I was with some other buddies and whatnot, and they needed some stuff, and I saw some areas where we can improve. So what I ended up doing was I built mine. I kind of cut it apart multiple times, changing the buckle, making modifications to it. And then my buddy, he was like, hey, dude, can you make me one? And I was like, yeah, I'll order some more stuff. So that one got a little bit better. And then I made a couple more. And I was literally just helping out the boys. Like, it was not, it wasn't like, hey, you know, it'd be a good idea, like start a huge business, you know? It wasn't until language where we had a little bit more time and a very consistent schedule, where it was like, hey, we're in class probably like 6 hours a day, I would say, on average, which was a smoker, learn a new language. But then we had time where I was like, dude, I can spend a lot of time at the range. So I started building belts for some of the other guys that hadn't had their own yet. And one thing kind of led to another, and then I started kind of building a few more. And I was like, oh, dude, this is sick. And then I started buying better material. And that's where the $150 sewing machine was just like, I was breaking needles all the time.
How did you find the better material? You just...
It was like
research and Google
honestly,
and things like that? Or?
It was just, I ordered so many different types. It was like, order this spool. All right, that kind of sucks. And it was like, order this one. And then it was honestly trial by error. And then I tried doing some research on like, hey, what's the strongest webbing? You know, like what's this stuff? And then I would get it in my hand and be like, oh, wow, this is really way too soft or way too thin. And it wasn't until like probably midway through language where a couple of my buddies wanted some more. And I was like, you know what? Like, I can make better belts if I get a sewing machine. So literally that one back there, that was the first one. And it's funny how perspective, I don't know you'll appreciate this, how perspectives change, because that one was $1,200 to buy it used. And I was sweating. I was like, fuck, like $1,200. Like, we weren't making that much money, dude. And
now you're spending that.
I maybe made, like, let's say at this time, I probably sold like maybe like 4 belts or something, 4 or 5, made a couple for myself. So like, I would say kind of broke even on everything. So I'm like, oh man, like, should I actually take that time and that investment and do this? Like, I don't know. Like, I ended up pulling the trigger on it, and it was like the best decision ever. I'm like, oh my God, this is what a real sewing machine can do.
Yeah,
and
I
now
that.
now the materials just kept getting better. And now that the materials were better, it wasn't just like my buddies that were like, oh dude, I'll buy one of those. You know, I could use another. It was like guys needed like a true work belt. And that's what was kind of enabled me, that machine, to now get some of the materials. Some of them were similar to the stuff we use now. But yeah, we just we kept it rolling, and then it kind of turned into a little side gig for us.
So you did. When did you start Subsecond?
So the actual name?
Yeah. Like when did you start? Just the name.
So I bought that machine. I had a couple belts built on that. And then I was like, oh, this might be like a cool side business that I could like do, like make a couple belts on the weekend. And then honestly, it was to buy more ammo, literally so I could go train. And it was like, oh dude, if I do this, then I could just use the profits from the belt, and then I could spend more money on ammo and just train more. And that was kind of the whole thinking. So coming up with the name, I was like, all right, so now it's time to make a name. I got to put some tags on these things. And I was like, hey, I don't want you to look at the name and go belt company. And I don't want you to look at it and go military, or like kind of focus myself into one thing, because I was like, I don't know where this could go. You know, I kind of want to leave it more open, and I didn't want it to be like Jeff's tactical belts or Thompson's tactical belts, because then it's like, if I tried to do something else down the road, then it would be like, what the fuck, you know? Like Thompson's tactical belts are making, you know, components for this other thing, you know. So it was like, all right, what can I come up with a name? And it took me, I was coming up with a name for probably about, let's say like a month or two. And I was like, man, I was writing stuff down. I couldn't figure out like a good one. And it was a Sunday, me and all the guys from my language course were at the range, and we're shooting, and we were seeing who can get the fastest draw time. So this one guy, my buddy Eli, shout out to Eli, fucking character. So we're standing in front of the target, you know, it's a steel target. I don't know, we're probably like, you know, 10 meters away or something. And he's drawing, he's taking a fast ass shot, but dude, every shot was like a miss, like far off. So it was like left of the target, right of the target, probably sent one over the berm, fucking in the dirt, you know. It was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing, you know? And then we were arguing about it the next day, Monday morning in class. And we were arguing. He was like, yeah, but it was sub-second, you know, you guys didn't have that, and it was faster. Then we were like, dude, what are you talking about? You didn't even hit you have to hit the target for it to count. Yeah. And they kept using the word sub-second because all the draws, the fastest draws, were all
just stuck
sub a second.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I kind of was sitting back on this conversation, and then I was like, that's it. And they all stopped talking.
It makes perfect sense.
They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's the name.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you guys think? The name of the company is called Subsecond. And they're like, yo, that's kind of cool. That's different. And I'm like, perfect. Yeah. You know, and then that's when I went with Avery. We went to, it was like Office Max or something like that. And they have like a business card designer there. So I don't know how we came up with the two S's, but it was like one of the S's, and then we flipped it around, and the first logo that was printed was on a business card. So it wasn't even on a belt. It was like, so we built it, and then I took the business card and then somehow got that graphically designed. So I had an actual image after, because you don't get the graphic image from the business card. So yeah, dude, that's how
did you feel kind of like, did you feel kind of fucking douchey or like a tool for naming it the name that you did? Like, did you have that kind of like, I don't want to, just the reason why I'm saying this is because like when I started Alpha Country, it was like just the word alpha had been taken by so many betas and been used to where it's like, you're a douche for having the word alpha or even saying alpha. I felt so weird for the longest time. And it's like the kind of people that have just ran wild on social media and stuff like that have taken things in our background, Subsecond, the meaning of it, or, you know, something tactical in the tactical space, and they have completely burnt that word or that genre or that style into where, like, somebody that it actually makes sense and it actually is part of their lifestyle and it fits right in. People are scared to use it because, or have the name of their company because, you know, it got a bad rap for some, you know, tool that completely just ruined that name or that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
I guess I didn't feel like that too much. I would say it's probably the fact that, like, I was selling to other guys in the course. Maybe that kind of made me feel like a little weird.
Yeah.
And then also, like, now I'm making equipment that they rely on.
Yeah.
So maybe the name, but, like, the whole business is like, yo, that's like a very mission essential piece of kit.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I can't mess this up. You know, once it moved past, like, flat range, like, oh, we're just having fun. It was like getting down the group, and it was like, oh man, like, these guys are reliant, like, their pistols attached to it, their IFAC, most of, like, my ammo for both weapon systems, some of their, like, really critical gear was attached to that piece of kit, and I was like, dude, it can't fail. Like, they can't. Everything else has to fail before the belt does. You know.
Well, both of our businesses are, like, my business. These people are putting this product that I'm making in their bodies. Your product can be relied on whether you live or die. You know. And how does that, with each belt, does that kind of run through your head that, like, man, I wonder what this belt is gonna see and things like that, and it kind of hits you that, like, you know, this belt could be going to war and could go, you know, does that weigh pretty heavily on you when you're making these?
Yeah, I would say that's something huge, and sometimes you get so, like, fixated on the little details that you forget to kind of, like, pick your head up a little bit and kind of, like, look around. But I knew I needed to make a super reliable product. And then it didn't really hit me until I had a couple guys, like, I saw them and they had some of the original belts that we had, and they've already had multiple, like, combat deployments. And that's when I was like, oh wow, like, that's pretty cool. You know, like, the very first belts that were sold to guys ahead of me, like, they had 2 combat deployments already under them, and I was like, oh dude, you have a belt that doesn't have a logo, like, can I like exchange it? And they're like, nah dude, like, this is like, has nostalgia, you know, like, I don't want to exchange this is awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that was a pretty cool moment once I saw a couple of those. And same thing, I was kind of, like, head down, just like, oh, I just got to make another one. I got to make another one, and kept improving it. And then it wasn't until I got down the group and saw a couple of the guys that were ahead of me, and and they were pumped. And then that kind of gave me, like, oh, dude, that's amazing.
I don't think people realize how many operators or operators that are running your belt, because of the, you know, being in special operations and stuff like that. You can't have a photo shoot frenzy every time they're out there running around. And, you know, I saw it. There's a lot of team guys wearing Subsecond belts. And to me, it's just like, damn, I think it's really cool to know you. And I know that you put everything into that belt. And that way, if somebody is looking for something reliable and they're in a dangerous occupation like law enforcement, SWAT, the military, whatever, you know that if they come to you, that they're going to be taken care of. You know, that's gotta feel so good, bro.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And then I would say probably some of the coolest experiences is, like, the first Cephalic I did. There was probably myself and, like, maybe 3 or 4 guys in the whole company. And then the last one, right before I got out, I was just kind of just as a guest showing up, and I just looked around, and it was like maybe like 50 to 60% of all the whole company all had Subsecond belts. All different generations and whatnot. You had the brand new dude that he was literally using a loaner belt because we couldn't even build it in time for Cephalic to start. And then you had guys with the originals. And that was cool, man. That was a pretty cool moment. Yeah. And so it started like Q Course 7th group. And then it was kind of like a slippery slope of starting a business because I never was like, oh, dude, I need to like grow this.
Which is what year was it when you like Subsecond was born pretty much?
I would say 2019.
Okay.
I started building belts in like 17. Say 2019, I would say I turned into an LLC. And then a lot of people don't know this, but my dad actually, while I was getting ready to deploy, we had that train up in 2019. We hit the same deployment. We had the train up in 2019. We deployed in 2020. So that whole time, he took the whole business, moved it up to Connecticut, and then went through all this basic learning shit that I did. He's an engineer, never touched a sewing machine before, but then learned how to sew, how to manufacture these things.
Awesome.
And he was the one that actually set up the original website and really took it off the ground while I can focus on being a GB. And still kind of, I was kind of more of like the salesman at that time. I wasn't really running any of the back end stuff. So 2020 hit, we deployed, did the deployment, came back, and then 2021, we made the decision it was best to send the whole business back down here because I lost some of the touch points, and I figured that the best way to grow it would be to have all the manufacturing capabilities at the house. So we took over the entire garage. It was probably a year, 2022. We were like, all right, this is crazy. Let's move it. We got a shop. Another one of those like sewing machine moments where I was like, fuck, gotta get a shop. Like like I have to always pay that. It doesn't go away, like you always have to sell stuff now, And so, I moved the stuff in here. What a game changer for efficiency.
That was 2022?
22, yep.
Okay, so from 2017, when you're in the Q course, up until 2022, you're running all this pretty much out of your house. When you're on deployment, your dad's doing stuff like... the reason why I'm kind of focusing on this is because people don't really understand. I didn't understand. You didn't understand that it was going to take you, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, like 6 or 7 years to get it to where you're at right now. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have thought, that, all right, I'm going to be able to make $1 million in a year, which is what I thought, then you'd never be here. And I think it's cool to see that like you have stuck with this and you were able to figure it out, even while deploying, going to war, going to training events, having a family, having kids, still being a dad, being a teammate, being in that special operations community while still trying to build this. Dude, it's like, I don't think you understand how much dedication and commitment that really takes, and that alone to me is what got me interested in the belt. You know what I mean? Is because it's like, all right, this guy is I'm seeing all these people with this belt. He's active duty. He's still in. I just thought it was the coolest thing that I didn't know you at the time, but it was like this dude that makes these belts. He is legit like in real time seeing what is wrong with the belts that are on the market or what's wrong with his belt and training at the highest level, taking those pros and cons of what that belt is doing good and bad, and then fixing it to make something that other teammates of his can have. I thought it was fucking awesome. Yeah. And so I was like, who is this dude? And it's cool because like it's this whole, manifestation thing where it's like, I wanted to get to know you but it just took for us to be in this chapter of our lives or out of special forces to where we can really connect and share this journey now that we're on the same thing together. But when I first heard about Subsecond, I was like, dude, that's badass that a guy that's a special forces active duty dude is still able to, build a belt in something that we can use in our day-to-day lives.
It was it was definitely tough. But I just didn't like, we have I would say we have a decent work-life balance in group. Like we definitely, you still get some good time off. So I just it was like, hey, I'm at work. I'm a team guy and I'm going to give 100% to that. And then I sacrificed some of the other stuff. Like I didn't really go out and party and drink.
That's normal. That's normal to you, but in the typical society and dudes that are out there watching, who are going to watch this or listen to this right now, that are maybe in special forces or in the military or anything, and they're around this environment to where any free time that they get, you chose to dedicate. I'm not saying 100%. You never did anything. You didn't have a drink. You didn't do anything. But primarily, your focus on when you had some free time was, all right, what does the future hold for me? Subsecond, I'm eventually going to get out of the military. But most people, bro, even me, when I had free time, unless I was with my kids, I was off fucking around. I was off drinking. I was off doing something, partying. I was not working on my business. I wasn't thinking about being an adult unless I was back at group or at work. But when I left, I was a kid, and I think that it's amazing that you were able to not only live the special operations life, the life of a Green Beret, but when you had free time, you're also thinking ahead. You're also building a business. You're doing that stuff. So I think that's fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. Yeah, and it was tough, but I think when I look back and I look at where we're at now, I think that's what's given such an advantage over maybe some of the other companies, is that I was so hyper focused on the belts, because we don't really sell much other than the belts. We got a few other accessories, but I was so hyper focused on it. I would work at work using it, and then I would come home, make an adjustment, talk to somebody, make an adjustment. So there was no loss in translation between the end user and then the guy behind the sewing machine and then the end product. It was like, because a lot of times it's like you have the end user that knows exactly what he wants, but then he maybe can't convey that message to whoever's actually manufacturing it.
Yeah.
So certain little things fall off, like it being 2 inches, like everyone else does an 1.75 inches because they built around the buckle and it's easier to do. If we did 1.75 inch belt, it would be so much easier.
Yeah.
But doing a 2 inch belt, there's another layer. It's a different material. It gives it a different rigidity. It sits on your waist a little bit better. The elastic webbing, all these like little things that I've been able to kind of improve over the years have been because it's like work, come back, put it back in, work, and then it's this kept going back and forth. And for a lot of years, I built like every belt myself. I think it was in 2020. 2021, because when it moved down here, I think April 2021, I hit up my brother and I was like, Andy, he was living up in Connecticut. And I'm like, dude, I know you don't know how to sew, but I need help and I need somebody to be reliable. So he was like, fuck it, dude, I'll give it a shot. So he moved down from Connecticut to Florida and has been a huge help. And honestly, like he's building a lot of the belts now and has surpassed my skills.
Yeah.
I kind of just, hey, maybe make this change, maybe make this. But he's really taking it to the next level, and some of the quality, attention to detail and stuff. So
yeah. So now that you are officially out of the Army, you can dedicate 100% of your time to Subsecond and things like that. What's next? Do you have any big projects coming up? You've been solely focused on a belt since 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have tons of ideas written down, locked and loaded, ready to go. It's a good problem.
Yeah.
But you guys keep ordering so many belts that takes all my time. So it's a good thing. It's like, and we don't do any paid marketing. So the orders for the belts just keep rolling in. And right as we speak right now, we're at like a 6-week lead time. So that's pretty cool. That's cool to see. And it's just like, it's straight up, the more belts that get out in the world, the more guys see them when they're with their buddies at the range, and then they order from us. So
how many people do you have making belts right now? Like how many people do you have a part of your team that are actively on the daily coming in to make belts?
So we got 2 full-time, and then I got 4 part-timers, and then myself.
So you don't have just some huge sweatshop of kids in here, So I just want people, because I'm a business owner too. I get it, and I want people to understand that you're funding this business all on your own. You don't have a huge pot of money that somebody is giving you in order to buy an awesome facility, to make payroll, to have 30, 40 people back here sewing belts. You don't have that. And I want people to understand that you are funding this whole business on your own. So yes, you make awesome belts and you make the best belts on the market, but at the same time, you're a small team and you're not going to give up your business and your what you've been working on since 2017 just to fast track and get a little bit of money. Yeah. And I think I want people to understand that.
Yeah. And with that too, it's like, it's never been like, obviously the business, it needs to make money. Like you can't run a business without it making money.
Yeah.
But it's never been like, how can we maximize profit? Because I wouldn't build the stuff the way we build it. Like if I wanted to just maximize profits, that's not what I would. It's really about like, hey, how can I make the best system and help out the boys as much as we possibly can, and then hopefully that pays off down the road. And I feel like we're heading in the right direction. It's definitely been tough. Like, and I know how you know all about this. Is like, people think and they see like, oh, these belts going out. You're like, oh, dude, you must be making tons of money and stuff. And it's like, bro, it's not. I've literally, to this day, I have not took $1 from Subsecond.
The bigger you get, the bigger the pot of money that needs to go into the business gets.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm gonna try not to take any money from Subsecond for as long as I possibly can, because all that does is like it just slows down the growth just a little bit. You know, like the next time I need to buy one of these ridiculously expensive machines, or the next pattern sewing machine, or it just stunts that growth just a little bit. And then also assembling a team, like that's huge, and you need to have that cash flow to pull good people on. So
we're gonna save all that for another show. We're gonna do that, but
I know we don't want to go too long.
I wanted to wrap it up. What's your website? If somebody is looking just for a belt, where do you want them to contact you? Is it Instagram, email? What's the best way?
Yeah, honestly, any of the socials, the website, subsecondllc.com. You can hit me up on there. There's a chat. The email's on there. You could also just call me for right now. My phone's always ringing. I try to give people as much time as I possibly can. I get all types of questions.
They can come to the shop and
and you could also get. We don't really have like a store right now. That's where we're sitting in the headquarters right now. But we have people coming in all the time. They could check out some product, get sized up, and then we could place the order. Sometimes we have some stuff in stock, but yeah, if we could help you guys out, or hey, certain problems, guys come in. I've had a couple guys come in that they're just like, dude, can you sew this? Can you do this? And we're pretty busy now, but I'll stay late. I'll come in on a Saturday to do the same thing, modify a ruck, cut something on the laser for him, whatnot. So
So if you guys are in the local area, Fort Walton, Destin, Crestview, Florida, you guys are down here at Eglin, come stop by, see Jeff. And this is our first episode, so I thought it was pretty good. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll definitely be back for some more.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.